Gentlemen, okay. Just reviewing the video that I put together for what you're going to watch here in just a second. And it dawns on me, I gave no context to what we're doing. So Coaxial Dynamics and Bird, they make these monitoring systems called station monitoring systems. And this unit that you're going to look at is powered. One. Okay, that's one problem. We cannot power this unit in its installation place or location, not desired to have it powered. Two is there was a lot of inaccuracy that was taking place with this metering system. So the solution was put forth that we replace all the fancy dancy electronics that are in it and just make it a passive system, like all the other meter setups that this guy owns. Okay. The way the monitoring system works is this would be your reflect meter. Let's zoom in here for a second. This reflect meter is really cool. You take this knob and you adjust it. And this is the reflect side of things. So let's say in a broadcast station with a transmitter rack, you've got your reflect element for, let's say, 200 watts on your station. This needle will sit here and go, and you set this as your set point. When this needle rises over what would be 200 on a 500 watt slug, or 40 on a 100 watt slug, or 10 on a 25 watt slug, if you want to say kilowatts, so be it. The way this one was designed, this was in the reflect portion. You could also have this in the forward position, and it would have the same function. It monitors that. So if it sees reflect for even half a second, where the needle goes past this set point with this set peg, it trips an audible alarm and a visual light that'll start blinking at you, and a very, very loud audible noise that says, hey, pay attention to me, you have a problem with the transmitter. In the application that this thing is going into, none of that's necessary. So that and the meters weren't reading accurately. It's a very interesting situation. So the easiest solution was to utilize the box, replace it with meters that we knew and understood, and just bypass all that electronic stuff and make it passive. That way it didn't need to be powered. And the reason it needs to be powered is because of the audible alarm system, the light, and the constant level reference that this thing produces. Very complicated, but not so much. But for my customers, this is way more of a metering system than they need. Believe it or not, this is a 30 UA. Let's zip in here and we'll take a look. It's right down here. It's a 30 UA element. But this meter doesn't move unless this unit's got power on it. So the guy that owned this would be basically blind if he went ahead and used it, blind to what the RF is doing. So what you're going to watch is me modifying this box and making it so it's 100% passive. After contacting Coaxial Dynamics, they no longer build, manufacture, or support this unit. The unit that is currently in question was built in 1986. It was built for 2 years and then was no longer supported by Coaxial Dynamics. Some of the parts that are in it have tags on them that say valid through 1995, 1996, something like that. It's like a 10-year window, and then you have to recertify the unit. We're well outside of that date. Okay. The other thing is, the person that owns this, I understand, the fittings that they were using and the wire they were using, horribly inadequate for what they're trying to do. So I said, just let me take it with me, and we'll go ahead and I'll get all the right parts put together, and we'll modify this to be appropriate. So the other thing I want to mention is this was shot in the middle of the night last night. I'm not going to lie. I was incredibly tired, and I should have just done this today. So there's no sense of humor to this. It's completely bone dry. As my friends that have watched the preview segment of this video, they've all told me, man, you're turning into a grumpy old man. Oh man, I was tired. My balls are dragging on the ground. like a dog scratching his ass. I was tired and I wanted to be done. But in the same breath, hey, can't compromise quality. So, needless to say, that gives you some context to what we're working in. No, this isn't necessary for every coaxial dynamics monitoring system. This is just what happens to work best for this current situation, for this particular customer, for this one setup. Just saying. Another thing I want to add is you'll see in the video, of course I didn't explain this because I was tired and I wasn't thinking about it, and I kind of half-assed started off shooting this video just for him to have as a reference, but then I decided I'd make it a public video for all of you guys to have as a record. When you go to, let me grab one of them here. I got one sitting here. I use a Bird 43 coupler. This guy's using an 1 5/8" on one side and a 3-inch line section on another setup he's got. Coaxial Dynamics and Bird, the Bird 43s, all the Bird line sections use the same fitting. All Coaxial Dynamics uses the same fitting. So we've got a Coaxial Dynamics meter that is going to a Bird line section. And that's the reason that we use these shaved down fittings like this. This works really, really well. But the same fitting, this PL259, this will fit on the Bird 43, the 1 5/8", and so on. So I know that'll be a little bit confusing for everybody, and then somebody's going to point that out in the comments. Oh, that idiot doesn't know what he's doing. Actually, we kind of freaking do. So just note that some of these things have already been taken into account. This is a 3 and whatever inch line section. What is this thing? It doesn't say. It's 3 1/8 or whatever, 3 5/8, 3 1/4, whatever odd number that is. That's a bigger line section. They make them way bigger than this, but this is relatively a large line section. In the upcoming segments, I use a Bird 43 as a reference. Believe me when I tell you this will cross and work perfectly for the application that it's going into. Okay, on that note, don't you all go blind watching this next little bit of porn. We'll see ya. Okay, Bob. That is your receipt from Coaxial. That is a meter, I do believe. I don't know what that is. That's a meter. That is a meter. Big ass box for all them little parts. Okay. Oh, let's see what we got. So the meter windows, using the meters, and this is going to be your slug, which I will not open, but fitted K-Dub 2 through 30 megahertz for your line section. Set that aside. So I went with the side of caution. I figure what's another $180 or whatever, right? Just went ahead and replaced them both. So we got 2 new meters here. There's the mounting hardware. See, I knew this was why. Okay, good call. Good call, Luke. Okay, so if I was to get 1 meter, they wouldn't have matched, and it would have looked completely different. So, pretty sure the holes are going to line up. There we go. So now we're going to go in and we'll disconnect all of this stuff. We're going to leave all the circuitry in here. We're just going to disconnect this and disconnect this. We're going to pull these meters out. Yeah. Then from there, I think we'll probably punch some holes in the back for your peak kit. Make those hidden so they're out of the way. But yeah, we in top shape. Top shape. Let's get the meters changed out real quick. Mr. Bob got meters all mounted up. And they fit right back in the stock locations, no problem. Mounted right up, nice and smooth. I don't know if you remember or not, they had this trimmer pot that was over here on the reflect meter. We removed that, and then I desoldered the connector and made it so it was direct feed, the way it should be. So there's no BS with your reflect anymore. It'll be straight on the money. And then we're going to take this coax here and we're going to cut it here in the middle. I'm going to put your peak kit right here now. I'm going to drill, I'm going to drill some holes in the back, but first I want to attach the face because I'm trying to keep from scratching up the face in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to attach the face, and we're going to punch some holes here in the back, and then we're going to get your peak meter mounted up. Okay, Bob, this is what I built you. 2 new meters. Now, I didn't know where you wanted to put your peak indicator light, so I took the incandescent bulb that normally sits here. I dismantled it and modified it. So when you turn your peak kit on, the blue light comes on in the front. It's relatively bright enough, I think, that you'll be able to see that. So let's go ahead and let's run through all the range of motions. There's nothing attached to this at the moment. Your peak kit's installed, just mounted down in here on the board, or on the inside of the case. Went ahead and did just a standard coax split Y soldered here, coax split Y soldered here, of course with heat shrink, epoxy based heat shrink on both the shield sides and the actual down end end of the coax. Did the same thing here on your T-junction. It's real simple. Coax comes in, gets split, goes to its actual attachment point, and it has another piece of coax that comes out and goes over here to the meter. So with this thing in the average position, now I'm going to put labels on this here in just a minute, Bob, but what we did here on the back is we mounted you up your 9-volt battery on an external power plug. This is something that does not come with the peak kit. This is one of like 60 things I keep around here all the time for guys that want to have this installed. This is screwed and bolted to the back of the cabinet. This battery retainer is not coming off. I will add a note on here with a date, today's date, so that you can keep track of how old the battery is. Just saying. Of course, I will put labels on all of this as well. So this is your on-off switch. Put it closest to the edge for you. So all you got to do is, if you want to show peak, you just reach back here and you can flick this with your finger. This is your range extender. Center is 0, of course, otherwise face label on the element. Up is 2 times, down is 5 times. Okay, so off and 5, and you can tell it just by feeling it. So you'll be able to reach back here and go, oh, okay, this switch here is in the middle position. That means it's 1X, and that's where you're going to probably run it most of the time. And this switch, the one closest to the edge, is down, and the light's off. That means the peak is off. So that means peak's on. Up on the second switch is 2X, and down is 5X. Like I said, it will be labeled. So let's double check our meter movements. Let's make sure we're in 0. We are in 0. Let's go ahead and move the peak meter to its set position. So that's full deflection. That is 1X. We're going to flip this up. Now this meter is going to move to 50 and dead on the money. Stop. That's off by a hair. I will send the instructions with you, or for you, so you can adjust this if you need to. VR VR4. So we're going to adjust VR4. Right up to 50 and it stops. So start over. Stops. Right up to 50 and stops. And then we're going to go to 5, which should come up to the 20 scale. It's going to be over because we just adjusted the other one. So VR5. Right on the 20. So 2. Dead nuts on the 50. Back to 1. Check our PEP on the 1x setting. Check our PEP on the 2x setting. Check our PEP on the 5x setting. Looks good to me. One. 2. 5. Okay, on that note, for history, we're moving on up to the east side, to the deluxe apartment in the sky. So now the only thing I have to do is figure out where the hell I put the box from RF Parts that has the incredibly precious and insanely expensive. Here we go. Okay. That is $20 for those 2 connectors. Now to build you your coax jumpers to go off to your line section. But this is done. Okay, Mr. Bob, here we are at the tail end of the story. This is RG316 dual shield 50 ohm coax. This is a military aircraft grade coax. It is super flexible. I left you more than enough length to go from where this thing sits to the back of where the coupler's at for your setup. The reason I use this kind of coax is because I couldn't help but notice when I was down there the problems that you were having with the standard RG58 solid core garbage. This will never fail you like that. This is all soldered. Now these fittings here that I built for you are soldered up inside, plus the tension screws. These are the legit coaxial dynamics connectors with center pins that actually hold the wire in contact where they need to go, not just where they're lightly making contact. This is, you screw these down tight and they're on there tight. Now there's a label on each one of these. This is forward and then forward. Better than double-sided stick tape, legit labels. And your reflect, it's also labeled here on the box. Over here, like I said, I'd put a little sticky on here so you know when the battery was changed last. On, off, 1x, 2x, 5x. And that affects just the forward meter. So this is your product order sheet for the 2 meters and the new 50K slug, and this here are the instructions on how to set up the peak board, which I know you already have, but I'm going to send them in along anyhow. I know your affinity and your total love for the bird coupler attachments in the line section. They suck. This is standard PL 259. This is standard PL 259 thread. Same thread pitch for the jacket. What we've done is we've shaved down the intersection of this. See if we can get this to focus for you. We've shaved down the inner pin. This is full soldered, and there's a little dimple in it. The reason the dimple's in it is because when you go and you put these two together, you put the dimple in the pocket, slam this home, and just simply thread this on until it's tight. Once it's tight, this will not flex or move, and it'll make just as good contact as the bird connector, but much easier for us to access, much easier for us to fix, much easier for your fingers to hold on to and turn and twist. Okay, there's some serious up advantages to doing it this way. The other huge up advantage is it's cheaper than the actual bird connector, but primarily it's much easier to get on with your fingers. There's more metal mass to grab a hold of. So, all right, this is it. You're done, my man. Gentlemen, my name is BBI. Without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. What that means, I don't know, don't care, it doesn't matter anymore. Appreciate your all support. I'm gonna go in the house. You guys have a good day. I'll see you. Click, click, click. Sorry, been a long, stressful day. Never, not ever, in any time in any recorded history have we never ever seen the history of this ever documented. How simple this is, by the way. So, when you call them, you guys will be shocked. Your peepees will go back inside you, and you'll start to cry quietly in the corner. And go, my God, what are they charged for? A really expensive metal box is the answer to the question. Bye.